Hello, Mark Curry here. There are lots of words that I could use to describe our current health situation or our health crisis. Weird, surreal, strange, unbelievable. But as far as our industry is concerned, the business that we call show business, the word is uncertain. None of us, performers, people who are working in the theatre backstage, front of house, people who are working in television, technicians, none of us know when we will be working again. And those of us who don't know when we're working again, but who are lucky enough to have some financial security, can get through this period. But there are lots of people who are not quite so fortunate. And right now is a very difficult time for them. So I wanted to do my bit. And I'm putting together a series of conversations called Conversations with Mark Curry, with some famous faces, some of them mates, some people that you'll know, I'm sure. Just chatting to them about their lives, their careers, what they're doing now, their plans on hold because of this situation. And it would be great if you could enjoy those interviews and those conversations. But what would be really wonderful would be if at the end of watching those conversations, you could hit the donate button and just give whatever you can, which would really help performers, workers in theatre and television who are going through this very, very difficult time. So it's really easy. Sit back, enjoy it. And then when you finish watching, just go to the Acting for Others website, hit the donate button, and you'll be taken immediately to the Just Giving page. It's really simple. Just give as little or as much as you can. Thanks so much for watching. In 1987, a young actress went to be fitted for her uniform to be a dental assistant. The day after, she auditioned to be the new presenter on probably the most famous children's program ever, to join me and Karen Keating on Blue Peter. Needless to say, she didn't need the dental uniform because she got the job, becoming the youngest ever Blue Peter presenter and one of the most popular. She stayed for 5 years. And after that, she went from strength to strength. She's appeared on live television, on game shows. She spent a little time in the jungle in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And most recently, she's had a fantastic success, scaring the living daylights out of herself and millions of viewers in something that she created called Most Haunted, trying to contact spirits and ghosts. She is Yvette Fielding. Great to see you. Do you remember that audition back in 1987?
Yes, and funnily enough, I've started to write my autobiography called "Here's When I Screamed Earlier." I thought that was quite apt, and I was actually reading a chapter about that audition, and I think I've told you this before, but well, obviously you know. But I was so nervous. My mum was nervous for me. She decided the best thing to do is we'll dress you like Valerie Singleton. That's how you'll get the part. And I remember going in a big cowl knitted sweater of my mother's and a big woolen A-line skirt practically down to the floor and a pair of old-fashioned high heel leather boots. And my mum said, you'll get it, you'll look just like Val. Anyway, I got there, and then I always remember Biddy saying, now, have you got your leotard? I said, no, what leotard? And my friend who had come with me for the audition happened to have a pair of bright orange woolen luminous tights on underneath her garb. So she said, well, why don't you just keep your sweater on and put the luminous orange tights on? Which I did. But of course, when it was my time to bend over and get onto the trampoline, all the camera could see was this great big luminous pumpkin with ribbed woolen gussets, you know, in the U. And I sweat like you wouldn't believe. I'd sweat, because of the jumper, and it was really itchy, sort of red. I didn't get it the first time. I auditioned the second time, and I got it then.
It was, I didn't know that. You had two auditions for Blue.
2 auditions, and I thought, what? Because they phoned me up to tell me, I think they sent a letter saying in those days there was no such thing as emails or anything like that. We're so sorry. Thank you so much for auditioning. Blah, 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 blah. That was it. And I was like, oh, God, I was gutted. And I always remember seeing who had got it, which was Karen. So I auditioned for Karen's thing.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this. No.
And so Karen got it. And I remember watching going, oh, well, no wonder. Look at her. She's beautiful. Oh, my God. No way. No way in hell. You know, with my helmet of a helmet hair. And yeah, and then weirdly enough, I got another letter a few, however long it was when Janet was leaving, to say, would I come again and audition? And this time I sort of went prepared, and that was that.
So you picked leotard that second time. Because when you were describing the outfit, because I was sitting in the gallery in the studio, which is upstairs, you look down on the studio.
Did you watch my audition?
Yes, because Karen and I, God bless her, we miss her so much. I
know.
Always wish she was here to talk about those days, you know.
She taught me to swear.
Oh, yeah. She taught me quite a few things anyway.
Moving on.
We were asked to go into the gallery to watch the auditionees, because there were a few of you, and you came on, and I remember you seemed so young. You were young. You were 18 years old. 17 then when you were
17, and then we went to Russia, and then it was my birthday in September where I was 18. Yeah,
that's right. And you were quite nervous, obviously, when you started, because it's a big audition. You know, you have to learn some script, and as you say, you have to get on the trampoline and all that, learn a history piece. But you absolutely nailed it when you had to make was it a Christmas card or a birthday card or something?
No, I think it was chicks. It was chicks. I remember it was 2 cotton wool balls and a bit of triangular paper, and then putting the black beads on with glue and a cocktail stick. I remember it vividly.
Well, there you go. You came alive and you got the job. And I remember turning to Karen and saying, "Oh, she's great. She's really great." And Biddy Baxter turned around. Biddy Baxter, the big boss, turned around. She's got the job. She just knew. It was obvious. But I didn't know about that first audition.
I never knew that.
No. There you go. So how did it come your way then? Because I know you'd done a series called Seaview, which was about a boarding house in Blackpool. So you were an actress.
I was. I went to drama school, like yourself, and I auditioned with my drama school and got the part. And it was very strange because all the girls that went for the auditions that were my friends, when I got the part, they all put me into Coventry. And I had to have lessons all on my own because no one would speak to me.
No.
Yeah. And you know, one of the girls, Ange, who was my best friend, years went by, and then I got the job on Blue Peter, and we got in touch with each other. And do you know what she said? She just hugged me and she went, "I just want to apologise for when we were 13." She said, because I was really out of order then, and I'm so ashamed. Even to this day, I'm so ashamed of what I did. I said, "You don't have to apologise to me. What you like?"
Oh,
it just shows you, doesn't it? Being young and you know, and how it affects people and the jealousy and all that. And then when you get older, you go, "Oh my God, did I really do that? Was I really like that?" You know.
You see, people forget that, don't they? Because I think it's great if you're a child who obviously, or a young person who wants to perform, you should go to drama school. Because actually I didn't go to drama school because I was already no, but I didn't because I was doing stuff. But I wanted to go to a performance-based school.
Right.
And my mom quite rightly said, "Well, I don't think you should be around other kids who are performing because it'll you know, it's not right. You need to be balanced." And I think she was right, because what people don't realize is there is that competition. You know, you could be going up for the same parts and you're all striving for success. So I never thought about it that way, but actually it could be really tricky, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So you got Blue Peter, and we welcomed you on board. You were wonderful. You were very different from Karen. Karen was streetwise. She was already a journalist. She was quite well known in Northern Ireland. Of course, her mum, Gloria Hunniford, had kind of...
I was terrified of Karen.
Were you?
Yeah, because Karen was... I remember we had a photo call, the three of us, and I think George the Tortoise peed all over me. And I remember being absolutely like, "Oh my God, it's luminous green, it's luminous green, it's pee all down my jumper." And I think Karen wasn't particularly, she wasn't friendly. She wasn't friendly to me. But you were fabulous. So I sort of steered to you. And I think because we were both from the north of England as well, it sort of helped me have a very similar sense of humour. And it was only, I think when, I think even during, it was sort of halfway or towards the end of us being Russia, Karen warmed to me a little bit more. And then I think we really cemented our relationship when the two of us went off to America. I mean, my gosh, that girl, she was amazing. She was such a, she revolutionized my wardrobe and my hair. You know, she honest to God, what is this? What is this? You know, she'd look at my wardrobe and go, and I remember other people at the BBC, and my fashion started to change, and I had very short hair and big earrings and all of this. And she helped me to do that. And she helped me find my confidence a little bit more within myself, you know, in the way that I, you know, had my hair and fashion, because I had no idea about fashion, as we all know, when I first joined, this helmet of, you know, 1980s Kevin Keegan perm. And I mean, I remember one point turning up and we all wore those awful tracksuits. Do you remember? If you walked too fast, you'd burst into flames. What were they called? Shell suits.
Yeah, big shoulders, and yeah, it all made a noise when he walked.
It was awful. And I remember, I think we all got a free box of them or something.
We did.
Me and you wore them.
Yes.
And I remember it was like Karen wouldn't be seen dead in them, you know, unless she made something fabulous out of it. Mind you, Karen could wear a bin bag and still look beautiful and gorgeous and sexy in it. And
she really could.
She really could. And we had such a good time and such a good laugh and everything. Yeah, we miss her very much.
Tremendously. I think it's difficult when, it's funny because I did one of these conversations with Janet Ellis and Petra Duncan.
Oh,
and
right.
we were talking about their dynamic. You know, you've worked together for a couple of years, the three of you, and then somebody else comes along. And it was quite soon after Karen joined that actually you joined, and it had been Janet and Karen and myself. It's sometimes difficult when somebody else comes in, and also when somebody so young comes in, because you think, have I got to really look after this person? And it was tough for you, Yvette, because you hadn't really been out of Manchester very much in your life, and I know that you missed your family. It was tough at first, wasn't it?
It was really, really hard. I remember, like I say, you know, and I said this to you privately, and I don't want to embarrass you, but if it wasn't for you, I would have gone home. Seriously, I could not have coped. You were my beacon of light, and you were the only one, and honestly, you were the only one that stood up for me, and you were my friend, and I needed a friend, and I didn't know anybody. And I remember staying in the Chiswick House Hotel in Chiswick, and they put me in there. And every night when you had to use the pay phone, because it was before mobile phones, obviously, because I'm very young. And every time I tried to ring my mum, I couldn't speak to her because I was so emotional and missed her so much. It was awful. And then I remember just taking myself to the park with my headphones on and just listening to music all the time, because that was the only thing that saw me through was music. And I remember you saying to me, it's the one time I think you sort of like got a bit peed off with me. And when we were in Russia, we all had Walkmans then, and I had my earphones on, and all I did was listen to the same thing over and over again. And it was a Stevie Winwood album. And I always remember we were on a bus going somewhere, and you went, for Christ's sake, will you stop listening to that music? I can hear it over and over again. And I went, oh.
A little hissy fit from Mr. Curry, I think. Right, a turning point.
And I was like, oh God, yeah, because it must have been like having a child on there, because I was a child, you know, sort of. And you're right, you know, how do you look after them? Do you what? And when I look back now, I think, really, I shouldn't have had the job, because I was far too young and inexperienced, and to be taken away from home, to be put into London and in a hotel, and having nobody there whatsoever as your sort of support. There was no support system. And eventually they put me in with a family. Imagine that. And you're going to go and live with a strange family now. And I was like, oh. And I remember saying, but Mark lives in Leeds. Why can't I go home in the week and come back? Why can I not go home for the weekend and come back and do the programme? But no, it wasn't allowed to happen. I had to stay there. And I remember I got phone calls from the producers every night at 9 o'clock. And if I wasn't in bed, there'd be hell to pay. Every night at 9 o'clock, without fail. And then I think just before Biddy left, do you always remember me having my hissy fit in the studio?
There were quite a few.
I write about this in the book, and it's so funny. It's where the producers had decided that I was to have the dog. I was to look after the dog, because I was told by the producers, you're absolutely rubbish at presenting. You're no good whatsoever, and the only good thing you're good at is animals and being with the animals. So we're going to give you lots of items with the dog, and by the way, you're to live with the dog. And I remember I eventually found a flat to live in with my friend Mandy, and we lived in a lovely little flat in Acton. Now I was starting to find my feet a little bit, and I remember the producer saying, and we found you a house. And you're to move in and with the dog, and this house she's a continuity announcer for BBC One, and now on BBC One, and her name was Roseanne, and I'd never met this woman, and apparently she was getting paid by the programme to house me and the dog. So right, get out of your flat and go over there, and it was a house in Earlsfield, and I just turned up with my stuff in tears. So I was just like, oh my God. And this poor woman, Roseanne, had this sort of tearful young girl with the Blue Peter dog. But fortunately for both of us, it turned out to be a blast. We made it work, and we had such a laugh. And the parties, dear God in heaven.
Oh, yes.
We had some great times.
And the thing is that all that is upsetting, all that stuff that's going on. But I think that the bosses actually knew. You say the producer said to you, you're only any good with the animals, but everybody knew, and I knew that on screen you were wonderful. And I know that the viewers, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. The kids were watching absolutely identified with you, because from 5 o'clock to 5:35, for half an hour when we were on,
yeah,
you came alive and you really connected. And that at the end is what matters. And it's a tribute to you that you got through that first couple of years.
Well, like I say, it's you were my one shining. I'll never ever forget you for that, and can't thank you enough for it. It's the world to me, and you'll always be my little beacon of hope when I was going through a very tough time. But you know what? Came through it because of you and other people that came in and sort of helped out. And like I say, Karen, and I grew and grew and grew, and that was that. And it was only the first year, that was really difficult. But then after that, that was it. It was great, and I was off, and all the rest of it. And then the rest is history, really.
Well, I think that people forget that Blue Peter in those days, it was a massive show.
Yeah.
But we would be getting the scripts. On Wednesday night, we would get the script for Thursday. And when I say a script, and everybody who's seen the programme will know that there would always be a history item in there where you had to tell the story of Henry VIII or Queen Victoria in 4 minutes. And one of the presenters would have that story to tell, and that would be page after page of dialogue, which had been written, all very good stuff and very interesting educational stuff for the viewers, but we'd have to learn it, and then it would all be changed on the day. A lot of it would be changed, and we'd have to do it, and the show is live. So it was great if you just had to make the chicks with the 2 little dots on the thing, but if you had to learn the story of Queen Victoria, that was hard to do. And it was only really when we got autocue later on, which made it a lot easier. Because
of me and you saying to Biddy, oh, for God's sake, Biddy, can just get her autocue. Because every time that light went on, can we swear? Are we allowed to say the shit word? Oh, well, I'm saying it.
Oh, yeah.
I just shit myself every time that light went on. And in my mind, I was like, I can't remember, because she would put lines through. Do you remember? Yeah. We'd do the dress run, and then she'd go, right, darling, I've rewritten this. And then you go, oh my God, my mind's still on this. You were a master of it. I always remember we had our scripts. We'd be coming back from filming. I always remember on a train at some ungodly hour, and we would be given our scripts by Joe or somebody who said, right, this is tomorrow's programme. And I always remember you going, oh my, look at this. There were just reams of it. And it was all you doing some sort of piece, like you say, on Henry VIII or some painter, But you were always beautifully professional and fabulous. And God almighty, your brain was like a computer. You could just remember stuff like that. Well,
I've been at it a while, and I've done lots of theatre, and I think
but wow, what a pro, and still are. But it was just amazing to watch, And then whenever I tried to do it, it was always hilarious, because I just couldn't do it. It was just so funny. You know, good
But
God.
there are some Yvette Fielding highlights. Anybody
Oh,
who can look at YouTube, you know, take a look at Yvette making pancakes live on Blue Peter. It is TV gold, absolute TV gold. And when Yvette went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and went on a ride,
oh,
the Revolution, which
the
really, when you think about it, the Revolution in Blackpool, it's still there, I think. It's nothing compared to the massive roller coasters all over the world. It's just one loop, you go upside down, then you wait, and then you go backwards. But my guest today, well, it became known as the Screamathon, right? She went ballistic from start to finish. It's absolutely hysterical. So take a look at that. Highs and lows, obviously, but you stayed for 5 years. You had a great time. After Blue Peter, the offers kept coming. You did lots of television, and you presented a live show from a hospital. Was that a daily show on BBC One? Is that right?
So that was Monday to Friday, and it was live. See, thanks to you, I was able to do live TV, and it was fantastic because you get to, you know, I saw births. I fainted. Classic. They said to me, right, for goodness sake, we're about to go live. Don't look at the initial insertion. It was a cesarean birth of twins, and I went, yeah, not a problem. 3, 2, looking at the thing, 3, 2, 1, and I went, oh. Scraping me up off the floor. I think they cut back to whoever the other presenter was, and I came off, oh, so absolutely fine, and carried on. It was the most amazing thing. I mean, honestly, I sat through hip replacement operations, eye operations, every type of operation, and I sort of became this. When I went home, my mum would say, I've got this pain, you know, what do you think it is? And I'd say, well, that's blah, 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 blah. And honest to God, I really enjoyed doing that job. And then the best bit, of course, was one of the cameramen on there. And it was just gorgeous. He walked in, I thought, oh my God, who is this drop dead gorgeous thing? He is just the most sexiest thing I think I've ever seen. He's beautiful. And they go, oh, he's Carl. Oh my God. And I always remember in the green room, he left his jacket on the back of the chair, and I went and sniffed it when he wasn't looking. I did.
Thank goodness it was on his jacket. Does he know this? That's scary. That's really scary.
And then I said to the producers, I said, look, I said, whenever I've got to do an item, I said, can Carl be my cameraman? And they were going, for God's sake, you know, can you just be a little bit more subtle? I said, oh, please, he's so gorgeous, please, please, please. He thought, though, the first time he ever met me, he thought it was an animal doctor that he was setting up to interview in one of the wards. And Yvette will be up to talk, because we're going to talk about how animals can help alleviate stress. That was the item. So Yvette will be coming up soon. And he expected this animal doctor, and I walked in, and that was it. And he'd heard, I think, on the grapevine that I liked him. So he said something like, oh, I think, you know, maybe I should offer to take you out. And I stupidly went, if you could handle me, like that, thinking that he would go, bit of a challenge there. But he didn't. He went, oh, can't be asked with that. And then I didn't hear from him for quite a long time until the next series. And one of the producers went up to him and said, will you please do something about Yvette? And he thought, why? What do you mean? He said,
do something about it.
Can you just do something? And he said, what? For God's sake. He said, well, you just ask her out. She's driving us mad. And Gabby Roslin was on with me. And she even said something to him like, please do something. So that was it. And then we went out for 3 months, and then we got engaged after 3 months, and we just yesterday celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. So
wow.
yeah, it's lovely. Just my bestest friend in the whole world.
And do you know something? The incredible thing about this is I hardly saw that show. I caught it a couple of times.
Yeah.
But one day I was in at home, and I thought I better watch this show because I want to see what Yvette's doing.
Oh God, what did I do?
No, he proposed to you on air.
Oh, that one.
Carl, your now husband, proposed to you on it, and I saw that show. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. I know.
What did you think when that happened?
How bizarre is that?
What did you think when it happened? Because it's one of those things that, you know, you are presenting the show. The guy proposes to you. You've got half your mind on how long have we got? I'm presenting the show, and then this guy's doing a life-changing thing in front of you.
I know. I couldn't believe it. They actually had a button, a mute button, in case I swore, apparently. But I remember my talk back, because I used to have open talk back. And I remember going, why is the talkback not working? Why? Oh, we're having some technical issues. And I'm thinking, I have no talkback. I'm live. I don't even have switch talkback. What's going on? And then Gabby was being really weird. And I had this big, I seem to like cowl neck sweaters, don't I? I had this big, thick cowl neck sweater on. And when he came, and she went, and we love it. Gabby went, and it was in an operating theatre, a romantic setting. And Gabby went, we love you on the show, Yvette, and your fans love you too. And so we know that you've made it, you know, you started seeing somebody on this show, one of our cameramen, and here he is now with a lovely bunch of flowers. And I thought he was just coming in to give me a bunch of flowers and talk about how we've got a relationship, you know. And then when he got down on his knee, I was like, oh my God. And of course I said yes, because I knew I loved him. And but then afterwards I said to him, you could have told me. I said I would have worn something a little bit more appropriate.
Oh, it was magic television. Yeah. I just couldn't believe, as I said, that of all the programs to watch, I actually tuned in that day. And
how weird.
Yeah, incredible.
And then they asked me, they said that the same program said, because I obviously got pregnant with Mary quite soon, because they said, would I be prepared for them to film the birth? I said, no. Oh, can you imagine? No. But no, there's some things are sacred.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, no. And I don't think Mary would have thanked you for that either, really. Not a good idea. Yeah, Mary, just have a look at this. This is your first appearance on television. No. It's a very, very successful partnership in more ways than one, because you've created Antics Productions, this really successful production company, and had this very simple idea, which turned into Most Haunted. Tell us how that happened.
Oh gosh. Well, Carl and I, both of us are quite creative, and we did think about setting up a production company, and originally we were going to call it Red Beetles Productions, because I had an old 1970s Red Beetle that Carl had bought me as a present. So we thought, oh, let's call it that. And we'd come up with a few ideas and sent off different program ideas to different stations, and nothing had happened. And then it was just a friend a friend of mine, because I was working for Granada at the time, and he'd come over to drop something off and whatever. And after he was leaving, he was sort of saying, while he was there, he was telling us about how he'd spent the weekend at a place called Michelin Priory in East Sussex. And he was going on about what a fantastic location it is, and the guy who owns it's really up for anybody going and filming. If we knew of anybody that wanted to go and film anything there, he'd be up for doing it for free, and blah, 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 blah. And as he was leaving, he said, oh, and by the way, this place is so haunted. It's got like 13 ghosts there. It's really creepy. And I had watched about a month before that, the Blair Witch Project, which had the night vision cameras.
Yeah.
And it was Carl that after this guy had gone, Carl went, would you spend the night in a haunted house? And I went, no way, absolutely not. All that kind of stuff freaks me out. You must be joking. And he said, yeah, but what if we got a group of us together and we spent the night in a haunted house, like a camera crew? And I said, well, what if we use night vision cameras, and what if we did it that way? So we sat up all night, and I remember on the bed, it was just full of sheets of paper. And we kept writing down these different ideas. And the original title was a fabulous title. I don't know why it was changed. It was called Yvette's Haunting Truths.
Yvette's Haunting Truths. Yvette's Haunting Truths.
So yes. So yeah. So no wonder why that was changed. But anyway, and we went off and we got a group of friends, camera ops and sound technicians, and we just said, look, we can't pay you, but we will buy you a load of beer and we'll feed you. Will you come and film? So they all said yes, and we went and spent the night in Michelin Priory. Dear God, I've never been so frightened in all my life. It really was frightening. And we got some fantastic footage. Carl and I had got all our savings. We believed in it that much. We got all our savings, and we went to an edit suite in Manchester, had it professionally edited, and we had titles made for it, spent a lot of money on graphics, because we just thought, this will work, this will go. There's nothing like this in the UK. And we went to every single television station, every single one of them, and they all said no. No, ghost programs don't work. Nobody's interested in the paranormal. even one channel actually said we were unprofessional for even considering making such a genre of television. And I know the BBC we did have a meeting with them, at least they took the meeting, but I think they did a programme, funny enough, with Sarah Green years ago called Ghost Watch.
Yes.
And and it was, but people didn't know that it was faked. So, and I think what happened was, unfortunately, somebody killed themselves because they thought it was real.
Oh.
And the BBC from then have always been a little bit about anything to do with paranormal, crossing over. It can upset a lot of people that are very religious. And so they were sort of like, it's a great idea, but it's not going to work. So I always remember we had no spare cash whatsoever. I'd had Mary by this point, was doing a little bit of part-time presenting. Carl was a jobbing cameraman. We'd used all our money, and I remember us panicking because we couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. We were like, what are we going to do? We've sunk all our money into this idea. And it was the last straw. Carl was working in Maidstone at Meridian.
Yes.
And he was down there, and a gentleman called Arch Dyson, who was in charge of the whole studios there. Carl managed to get a meeting with him, and he said, "Can you just tell us what we're doing wrong, Arch, with this program?" So he said, "Okay, let me watch it." And it was a 30-minute program, and he watched the whole of the 30 minutes, and he never said a word. And then right at the end, he sat back and went, "I'll have 16 of these, please." And because he was moving to what's now it was Living TV at the time. He was moving over to a big channel that Sky took over. So he moved and he took that with him, and that was how it was born. And even then, the boss of one of the bosses that Arch had moved into to start this station off with, even he argued with him, Arch, and said, I don't want this show on, because he was running one particular channel. I don't want this show. And Arch said, "No, you will. This is my whole channel. You will play it." So Most Haunted was forced onto Living TV, and then it proved to be an absolute hit.
It's totally fascinating because, like all great ideas, it's so simple. We've all been to places, and even if you don't believe in ghosts, we've all stayed in hotels or been in theatres or been anywhere and said to each other, there's a bit of a weird vibe here.
Yeah.
And you go, and for those people who haven't seen it, you are there. Sometimes if you're in a haunted prison or something, or a place that's got some story, you might lock yourself into one of the cells, and it's just you and the camera, all the lights are off, and things happen. There's an energy that really comes across.
I know. We keep talking, don't we, and saying, you've got to come and experience it.
It'd be amazing. I mean, I'd be scared to death. I think I would, but just for the sheer experience of it. Take us through the routine of when you, first of all, how do you find the locations?
Well, we have a location manager, and we also have an awful lot of people that will, including their private homes now, where they're contacting Jenny, and they're sort of saying, "Please, will you come and investigate? Please, will you come and help?" I've done some private exorcisms as well in people's homes. People that are genuinely frightened, and they can't sleep, and they're up because things are happening in the house, poltergeist activity, and so on. And me and Carl will go in, and straight away we can feel what's going on. I think because we've been doing it for 20 years now, I'm not psychic at all, but
you're tuned in.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's how we get the locations. But basically, lots of people letting, and then what we do is Jenny and her team have to go first into the location just to make sure, because we get a lot of pubs and places like that want a little bit of publicity. So she has to make sure that it's genuine and that there is something there. So we have to back up are the stories and the hauntings, do they coincide with some of the history of the property and so on. So that's really how we go through it.
And do you spend a day and a night in each place generally?
Well, generally we'll spend a whole day until the early hours of the morning. In the first few series, I mean, we would actually sleep on the floor because I honestly sleep, and then have to get up, reapply the makeup, and do yes, it's the next morning, and you feel absolutely shattered. But you know, I look back on the whole of the paranormal and everything, and it really has shaped my way of thinking. Before I did Most Haunted and before I got into it all, I remember thinking and feeling rather a little bit sad, thinking, gosh, when you're dead, that's it. There's nothing. And times when you were, you know, a little bit down or fed up, that sort of was always in the back of my mind, thinking, what's it all about? Why are we here? You know, what's life about? This is so deep. This is awful. You know, why am I going through this crap? And what's it all for? 20 years of doing this now, and I know 100% that there is life after death. There is a reason for us being here, and it has reshaped my life. It's made me a much happier person. I look at life in a different way. I look at a tree in a different way. I look at a leaf in a different way. The tiny, tiny things that you can take for granted become so awe-inspiring to me, such an inspiration, because I know that there's so much we as human beings, we have no comprehension of. And and one thing that I loved last year was that scientists actually agreed that there is life after death, and they think that it's the conscious brain. Energy cannot die, as Einstein said. The conscious brain will live on. So your body, your vehicle will die, but this part, your conscious brain, moves on and lives on and goes to another parallel. And this may seem strange, but I have more of a relationship and a better relationship with my father since he passed over than I did when he was alive. Try to figure that one out.
That's astounding stuff you're saying.
Yeah. So he'll come through, and there's a thing called like a tapping phenomena, which I want you to experience. So you'll feel it underneath your feet, and it's almost like, or you'll hear it coming from the walls, and it's like tapping. So I came up with the idea of getting a computer, or you know, when you text, the alphabet comes up on your phone. So I'll say, can you give me a message? 2 for yes, 1 for no. 2 taps will come through. And then I'll say, okay, is the first letter on this line, tap. Then I'll point to a letter, and then he'll tap to each letter. I've had, and we have had on the program, messages from people that have died in, for instance, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Tatton Hall. He gave us his first name, his surname, the year he was born, the year he died, how he died, and the historian that worked at Tatton Hall came running in with the official sort of information, and he said, "Oh my God, he's here! Look, here's a picture of him." And it was absolutely fascinating. My dad's come through with all sorts of information, telling me to get Rick out of my brother, tell him to come home. I don't want him in America. Told me to stop dieting too much, skinny cow. Cut that out. Just really interesting stuff. And
in fact, when people watch the show, because I've watched it with a couple of friends sometimes, and I'm really into it because I'm watching you and I'm just living and breathing it. But friends have said, "Oh, come on, you know, that door suddenly slammed in the background and you screamed the place down, or something's thrown." And they say, "Look, the crew are doing that." And I say to them, "Look, she's one of my best friends. I've asked her this, and she would not lie to me. It is genuine. When you're in there and those things happen, it is for real." Yeah.
100%. And one thing that we did, because of course, the human brain, you know, it's a TV program. Of course, they're going to fake it. No, we don't. And that's and what we did is when we obviously get flack on social media and so on when we capture something. Oh, you faked it. You've done this. You've done that in the edit. It's the crew throwing stuff. So it was Carl's idea, actually. We set up Most Haunted Experience so that everybody around the world, if they want to, they can come with us, the Most Haunted team, and they can visit and spend the night with us in a haunted location of their choosing. And they experience what we experience on the show. And that's when they turn around and they've got tears in their eyes and they've gone, "Oh my God, it's real. It's real." And I've gone, "Yes." So when people say to me, "Oh, it's fake," I say, "Well, come on then, come and join me. Come and join me, and I'll show you how it's real." Because the last thing, I used to get so upset. I used to cry when people used to say, how can you sleep at night? You're a disgusting person who makes money from dead people or something like that. And it used to really upset me. Now it doesn't upset me at all, because I just think I know the truth. And I am 100% absolutely passionate about what I do. And I go to bed at night and I start thinking of inventions of how we can make this tapping board even more, better and more clear and so on.
It's just fascinating viewing. There's no doubt about it. And I haven't seen a ghost so far in my life, but I think the scariest, not scary, but maybe weird is the word, is often in theatres. You've done a show and there's been this energy in the audience, and then sometimes you might have to walk through the auditorium to go and get in your car or go to the bar or wherever, and there's nobody around. You can feel it. You can feel these people have been there. It's energy. That's what it is, isn't it?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I often find the most haunted places are places like theatres, prisons, schools, anywhere that's had a huge amount of energy. And then it is the weirdest. Schools are really creepy. When we've been in places that are old Victorian schools and they've still got the old Victorian desks in there and the blackboard and so on. And you walk in and you can feel it straight away. But it is if we could see the energy all around us, we'd be amazed. It really is. It's really changed my life. And when we haven't filmed for so long. When we next film, and then I want you to go on this, and I want you to go, oh my God, this is what I experienced.
Right then. Well, get out of that one. Get out of that one, Mr. Curry. You can't really. Yvette, it's been a success for the viewers. It's been a success for you financially. You've done fantastic out of it. Thoroughly, thoroughly deserved, because you've worked so hard. And when you go back and describe those early years, how tough it was for you, even I had no idea just how tough it was. And look at what you've achieved. It's absolutely fantastic. And there's more to come. Very quickly, what do you want to do now? You can present, you can act. What would you like to do?
Well, I'm very, very happy. I'm just writing 2 books, 2 children's books. For Penguin, Anderson Press, and they're called, at the moment, the working title is The Ghost Hunter Chronicles, and they're children's books for teens. And I'm really just enjoying being in the garden and just writing. And I'm using all my own experiences with the paranormal and frightening the hell out of kids. And that's it. I'm very happy. I've lived a fabulous life. If whoever our creator was to take me now, I honest to God, I've had the most amazing adventure. I really, really have. And I'm blessed, and thank you. Yeah.
Well, you certainly have, and I'm pleased that I was part of that adventure for you, because that was
in more ways than you will ever know.
Yvette, just great to talk to you. It's absolutely flown by. Thank you so much for doing this, giving up your time for acting.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really great to talk to you. See you very, very soon. Take care up in Manchester. Love to Carl and the family.
All right.
We can't wait to see what's next for Yvette Fielding. See you soon. And if you've enjoyed that, please go to the Acting for Others website. Just press donate. It will take you straight through to the Just Giving page, and it's really, really simple. If you're on the website already, you'll see donate up there, so just press it and give whatever you can. Hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching that conversation. If you've enjoyed it, please go to the Acting for Others website, which is actingforothers.co.uk, and hit the donate button, which will take you immediately to the Just Giving page. And please give as little or as much as you possibly can to help those performers and people in the industry who really need your help financially right now. Thanks a lot.